Good morning. Today we'll be studying the 5th chapter of Hilchot Shevitat Yom Tov, and this chapter will deal with Hotza'ah and the specifics of transporting objects on Yom Tov. Rabbi Yosef Kafi makes a note here that all of the Isurim that we'll be talking about in the following halachot are relevant only in regards to Reshut Harabbim, because Chachamim do not want people to carry an issue to Rabbim, because they didn't want people to get the feeling that just because carrying is allowed in issue to Rabbim, that they'll get the feeling that it's just a regular weekday. However, there isn't an issue in terms of carrying any of the following, carrying objects in the following halachot in issue to Yachid. And as we talked about in the previous chapters, transporting objects on Yom Tov is allowed because Hamim didn't want people to limit their enjoyment and happiness on Yom Tov. Hilchot Shevitat Asor, Perek He, Halacha Aleph. Just because the transportation of objects on Yom Tov was permitted, even for objects that one could have transported prior to Yom Tov, lo yisam masa'ot gedolot kederech shehu oseh b'chol, ela tzarich leshanot. One may not carry heavy loads on Yom Tov as he would ordinarily do on a weekday, and rather he has to change the way he would typically do it. However, if a person can't change the way he would ordinarily do it, it is permitted. Ketzad, how so? If a person is transporting jars of wine from place to place, one should not carry them and transport them in large or small baskets. Rather, you should carry it on your shoulders or in your arms in front of you. Someone who is carrying straw, lo yafshit et hakupa le'achorav ela molicho beyado. Someone who's transporting straw should not hang the basket behind him. Rather, you should hold it in your hand. And again, the large majority of these halachot are in order for a person not to feel as if it's a weekday. And the reason Chachamim allowed it is for people not to limit their enjoyment on Yom Tov and feel trapped that they cannot transport objects. Halachabet. So too objects that are typically carried using a pole. You should carry them on your back behind you. And objects that are typically carried behind you on your back, you should carry them on your shoulders. So two things that are typically carried on one's shoulders, one should carry them with his hands in front of him, or you should carry them you should wrap them with a cloth and carry the cloth with the object inside. And any other type of shinui of this sort would be permitted. And if it is implausible for a person to carry with a shinui, you may carry how you would ordinarily carry on a weekday. When is this true? This is only true in regards to when a human being is carrying the object. However, if you transport the object on the back of an animal, you should not transport the object at all, because that is how objects are typically transported on a weekday, and there isn't really any shinui here, any difference between the weekday and the Yom Tov. אין מנהיגים את הבהמה במקל. One may not drive or steer the animal using a stick. ואין הסומא יוצא במקלו, ולא הרועה בתונמולו. ואין יוצאים בכיסא אחר האיש ואחר האישה שלא יעשה כדרך שהוא עושה לכל. And a blind person may not go out in Reshut Rabim, it seems, with his stick, and a shepherd with his pouch, and someone important. No, sorry, and someone who, and someone important. Back in the day, they would typically, if there was someone important back in the day, they would typically, and the person would go from place to place. People would usually carry his chair after him in order for that person to sit in his chair when they arrive to the place that they were going to. So it is prohibited to do so. And all of these things are prohibited because because all of these things are typically done on a weekday, and we didn't want people to do these things on Yom Tov because there wouldn't be any difference between that and Yom Tov, that and weekday. ואיש שהיו רבים צריכים לו, יוצאים בכיסא אחריו, ומוציאים אותו על הכתף ואפילו באפיריון. However, someone important, like a dignitary, that would be disrespectful for people not to bring the chair following him. So you may bring the chair after this type of individual, and you can even carry him on one's shoulders, and even carry him using an exquisite chair. הלכה ד' אין מוליכין את הסולם של השובח משובח לשובח ברשות הרבים, שמא יאמרו לתקון גגו הוא מוליכו. One may not transport a ladder that was typically used for dove cages. So you can't transport the ladder from dove cage to dove cage in Reshut Harabim in order for people for other bystanders to see and to potentially say that this individual is going to fix his roof with that ladder. However, an individual in Reshut HaYachid may transport the ladder. Despite the fact that Chachamim, whenever they prohibited things for appearance sake, Marita Ayin is for appearance sake, even in the most private of places, here Chachamim allowed the transporting of the ladder from Reshut Yahid, even though it's prohibited in Reshut Rabim because people may say he's going to fix his roof. Here Chachamim allowed it because they didn't want someone to limit his enjoyment on Yom Tov. הלכה ה' מי שהיו לו פירות על גגו, someone who had fruits that were drying on his roof, וצריך לפנותם למקום אחר, and however he needed to move them to another place because of the rain potentially, לא יושיטם מגג לגג, ואפילו בגגים השווים, ולא ישלשלם בהבל מן החלונות, ולא יורידם בסולמות, שלא יעשה כדי שהוא עושה בחול. One may not pass it over from one roof to another, even if the roofs were equal in height. And one may not lower them with a rope into the window, and may not bring them down with a ladder, because that's the way it would typically be done on a weekday. Rather, you can drop them in the window of the roof, even from one place of the roof to the other. So if you have multiple places in the roof, multiple windows or attics in the roof, you can drop the fruits in them. שחט בהמה בשדה לא יביאנו לעיר במות או במיתה, אבל מביאה איברים. If one did shehita on an animal in the field, one should not bring it hanging on a pole or on some type of stretcher. Rather, you should bring it piece by piece, again, just so you wouldn't do anything. You would try. Hamim really tried to limit the things done on Yom Tov the same way they were done on a weekday, and all of these things were typically done. All of these, everything that we've been speaking about, are prohibited, are things that it would ordinarily be done on a weekday. So the same with the Shevitat, that on a weekday people would typically bring the animal that they would slaughter on a pole or stretcher. Rather, Hamim on Yom Tov wanted people to bring it piece by piece. Ha'chavav, kol שנאותין בו אפילו בחול, אף על פי שאין נאותין בו ביום טוב, כגון תפילין, מותר לשלחן לחברו ביום טוב. Items that can be used immediately on a weekday, despite the fact that they cannot be used immediately on Yom Tov. For example, tefillin is not worn on Yom Tov. Rather, it is only worn on a weekday. One may send them to his friend on Yom Tov. ואין צריך לומר דבר שנאותין בו ביום טוב, כגון ינות, שמנים וסלטות שמותר לשלחן. And we don't even need to mention things that can be used immediately on Yom Tov. For example, wine or oil or flour, that obviously it would be permitted to send them. בכל דבר שאין נאותין בו בחול עד שיעשה בו מעשה שאסור לעשותו ביום טוב, אין משלחין אותו ביום טוב. However, different things that cannot be used right away on a weekday, until you do something to it that would be prohibited on Yom Tov, one may not send an item of this sort on Yom Tov. And Harambam will give an example on the next halacha. Kitzad, en meshalachin b'Yom Tov tivua, lefi she'en ne'otin bah b'chol, ela im ken tahan, ve'asur lithon b'Yom Tov. A person may not send to his friend fresh produce. So, for example, fresh wheat, because one can't immediately enjoy them on Yom Tov, on a weekday, unless he grinded the wheat, and it is prohibited to grind on Yom Tov. אבל משלחין קטניות, מפני שמבשלים אותן ביום טוב, או קולה אותן ואוכלן. However, different types of legumes that may be boiled or roasted on Yom Tov, one may send that to his friend on Yom Tov, because there isn't a prohibited action here that wouldn't allow a person to use it immediately on Yom Tov, on a weekday. משלחין בהמה חיה ועופות אפילו חיים, מפני שמותר לשחוט ביום טוב וכן כל כיוצא בזה. So too it is allowed for one to send an animal, even if the animal is alive, because it is permitted to do Shevitat on Yom Tov. So too anything of this sort. הכחת, כל דבר שמותר לשלחו ביום טוב, כשישלחנו לחברו תשורה, לא ישלחנו בשורה. Anything that is permitted to be sent on Yom Tov, if a person wants to send it to his friend as a gift, one should not send it as a part of a procession. ואין שורה הפתוחה משלושה בני אדם. And the procession that we're referring to here cannot be less than 3 people. כיצד? הרי ששילח לחברו בהמות או ינות ביד 3-4 בני אדם, כאחד זה אחר זה, וכולן הולכים בשורה אחת, הרי זה אסור שלא יעשה כדרך שהוא עושה לאכול. So for example, if someone sent to his friend animals or wine with 3 or 4 people, one after another, and they're all walking in a row in a type of procession, it is prohibited, because that's how gifts would typically be sent on a weekday. However, if he sent 3 different types of objects in the hands of 3 different people, but they were part of one group, it is allowed, so long as they don't walk in a procession, or as long as it is not done as it would typically be done on a weekday. The next halachot will deal with ownership of Eruvet Tehumin. If anyone forgot, it is prohibited for a person, just like on Shabbat, to leave 2,000 amot in any direction from the city or from a place that he established his residence on Shabbat. And we said that placing a meal in a certain place acquires a person's residence for Shabbat and allow a person to walk 2,000 amot in any direction from the place that he put the meal. So let's jump into it. הלכה ט' המערב עירובי תחומין ליום טוב, הרי הם טוב וחיליו ופירותיו כמוהו, ואין הוא לכינותן אלא בתוך 2,000 אמה לכל רוח, שהם ממקום עירובו. Someone who did עירובי תחומין on Yom Tov, so he placed the meal and acquired his residence in a certain place. His animals, his utensils, and his produce are considered part of him and can only go 2,000 amot in any direction from where he established his residence on Shabbat by placing the meal. Halakha Yod. Heftzeh hefker, ownerless objects, harehen kiragle mi shezacha behen, are considered as if the feet of the person who acquired them. And we'll see this term in the following halachot of ragle mi shezacha behen. Basically, the idea is that they may be taken wherever the person who acquired them goes. Heftzeh hagoy konin shevita bimkoman. ויש להם אמה לכל רוח ממקומן, גזירה בעלים גוי משום בעלים ישראל. Objects of a goy have established their residence wherever they are found, wherever they are acquired when Yom Tov begins, and they have 2,000 amot in every direction from that place. And Chachamim enacted this rule for goyim because the same rule applies for a Jewish owner. פירות שיצאו חוץ לתחומן וחזרו, אפילו במזיד לא הפסידו את מקומן, מפני שהם כאדם שיצא באונס וחזר באונס. Fruits that were taken outside of the tihum and were returned to the tihum, even purposefully, did not lose their residence, so to speak. And we consider them as a person who left the tihum by mistake and returned by mistake, and a person like this, it's as if he never left the tihum, so he can walk 2,000 amot in every direction from wherever he establishes residence on Shabbat. Again, this is assuming he did it by accident, and those fruits that were taken out of the tihum and returned, it's as if they never left the tihum. Someone who lent his animal to his son, one can only move the animal within the father's tihum because it was the father's property before Yom Tov, and the son is only borrowing it, so you can only move it within the father's tihum, because the father is the one who had ownership of it before Yom Tov. One who gave the animal to a shepherd, even if it was given to him on Yom Tov, you may move the animal within the shepherd's tihum. If it was given to two shepherds, it's as if we consider you can only move the animal in the owner's tihum because neither one acquired full ownership of it. Because we have a rule that you cannot give ownership of an object to two different people. מי שזימן אצלו אורחים ביום טוב לא יוליכו בידם מנות למקום שאין בעל הסעודה יכול ללך בו, שכל הסעודה כרגלי בעל הסעודה ולא כרגלי האורחים, אלא אם כן זיקה להן אחר במנות אלו מערב יום טוב. Someone who invited guests on Yom Tov, those guests may not take the food of the individual of the host to a place that the host may not go, because the food, all the food that was prepared in the meal only have the limits of the host and do not have the limits of the guests unless he transferred title to them from before Yom Tov. הלכה י"ג וכן מי שהיו פירותיו מופקדין בעיר אחרת, so to someone who had fruits stored or produce stored in another city, ועירבו בני אותה העיר לבוא אצלו, לא יביאו לו מפירותיו, and the other members of the city made an eruv so that that person can come to them, they may not bring any of his produce to him. שפירותיו כמוהו, אף על פי שהם ביד אלו שעירבו, because those fruits are considered part of him, and they only have his limits, despite the fact that they are in the domain of those people who did the eruv. When is this said? When the owner specified a corner for them. However, if the owner did not specify a corner for them, they have the limits of the person who the fruits are stored there. A well or anything that is in the well, namely water, have the same limits of its owner. And a well and water of people of a city have the limits of the people of that city. Those people who are coming from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, that would come typically for the Aliyah Regel. They would have wells back in the day that were basically public wells for the people who would come from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, and it was common property and belonging to everyone. Have the water has the limits of the person who drew the water. As anyone who drew the water would typically take the water to wherever he's going. Streams and springs have the limit of anyone who took the water from there. If they were coming from, if the streams or springs are streaming from outside the home to inside the tehum, water may be drawn from them, needless to say, on Yom Tov. Here it seems that Harambam is referring to Shabbat. I'm not sure, but it seems so. And yeah, it seems that Harambam is talking on Shabbat, that water may be drawn from a spring or a stream that comes from outside the tehum to inside the tehum, and it is also permissible on Yom Tov. The ox of a herdsman have the limits of the people of the city. As we talked about in the previous chapter, there were people back in the day who would fatten the ox and feed it certain foods, who are experts in doing this, are considered, so in terms of taking it different places on Yom Tov, they are considered they have the limits of the person who bought it to do Shevitat for it on Yom Tov, because these types of ox were only sold to do Shevitat typically soon after they were bought. Because the intent of the owner is to sell it to other people inside the city, because it's, again, one of these types of fattened ox, and people would typically come to him on Yom Tov and acquire the ox. וכן אם שחטו בעליו ביום טוב ומכר בשרו, כל אחד ואחד מן הלוקחים מוליך מנתו למקום שהוא הולך. And so too anyone if a person slaughtered this type of fattened ox on Yom Tov and sold his meat, anyone who bought the meat anyone who acquired the meat has the limits of whoever acquired it. Because the intent of the person who is selling the meat is the following. Because his intent from the get-go is that other people from different cities and from people from all over would come and buy the meat, and we view it, this whole situation, as similar to the well of those people who are coming from Bavel to Eretz Israel, that is considered common property, and whoever takes or acquires the meat can take it to wherever his limits allow him to take it. הגחלת כרגלי בעליה, לא כרגלי שואלה. Coals have the limits of its owners, not the limits of someone who borrows it. והשלהבת כרגלי מי שהיא בידו. A flame have the limits of whoever is holding the flame, or the flame is under its ownership, under whoever's ownership. לפיכך המדליק נר או עץ מחברו מוליכו לכל מקום שהוא הולך. Therefore, someone who lights a lamp or wood from his fellow may take it to wherever he may go, wherever he is allowed to go, rather. Someone who borrowed a utensil from his fellow on Yom Tov, despite the fact that he gave it to him on Yom Tov, it has the limits of the borrower. She'alo mimenu b'Yom Tov. If one borrowed something on Yom Tov, אבל פי שדרכו תמיד לשאול ממנו כלי ביום טוב, הרי הוא כרגלי המשאיל. Someone who borrowed an object from someone else on Yom Tov, despite the fact that the borrower regularly borrows the same thing on a weekday, despite the fact that on every Yom Tov, a person borrows that object from his friend, it's still the limits of that object have the limits of the lender, not of the borrower. Two people that borrowed a garment. One person borrowed it for the morning and one person borrowed it for the evening. It's as if this garment has the limits of both of them, and one can only take it to where both of these people are permitted to go. Halacha yotet. Ketzad, how so? הרי שהערב הראשון בריחוק 1,000 אמם ממקום החלוק למזרח, וערב השני בריחוק 500 אמם ממקום החלוק למערב. כשחולק הראשון החלוק אינו מוליכו במזרח, אלא עד 1,000 האמה, 100 האמה ממקום החלוק, שהוא סוף התיחום שיכול זה שערב במערב ללך בו. וכשייקח השני כלי זה, אינו מוליכו במערב, אלא עד 1,000 אמה ממקום הכלי, שהוא סוף התיחום שיכול זה שערב במזרח להלך בו. לפיכך, אם ערב בריחוק 2,000 מן החלוק למזרח, וזה ריחוק 2,000 למערב, הרי אלו לא יזיזוהו ממקומו. Thus, if the first borrower has acquired his residence 1,000 amot to the east of the location of the garment, and the second borrower has his tehum is 500 amot to the west, the rule is the following. When the first borrower has possession of the garment, he may only take it up to 1,500 cubits east of its original location, this being the furthest distance to the east of the second borrower, for whose tomb is in the west, can go. Again, when the second borrower is in possession of the keli, he can only take it up to 1,000 amot west of the original location, this being the furthest distance to the west of the first borrower, whose tehum is in the east, can go. Therefore, one borrower whose tehum is 2,000 amot to the east of the keli's place, the other person has 2,000. His tehum is 2,000 amot to the west. They cannot move it at all from its original place. הלכה כ' וכן אישה ששאלה מחברתה מים ומלח ולשה בהן עיסתה או בשלה בהן תבשיל, הרי העיסה או התבשיל כרגלי שתיהן. So too, a woman who borrows water or salt from her neighbor to be used during kneading or cooking, the dish can only be taken where both women are permitted to walk. וכן שניים שלקחו בהמה בשותפות ושחטוה ביום טוב, אבל בשלקח כל אחד מנתו, הרי כל הבשר כרגלי שניהם. So too, if a people jointly buy an animal and do shehita on it on Yom Tov, the meat can only be taken to where both people can walk, even if the two acquired each piece, because the entire piece of meat have the limits of the two of them. אבל אם לקחו חבית בשותפות, however, if they jointly acquired a jar, וחלקו אותה ביום טוב, and they split ownership of it on Yom Tov, הרי חלקו שלכל אחד כרגלו. If they split it, each share has the acquire and has the limits of its owner. הואיל ותחומין מדברי סופרים, יש ברירה בהן, ונחשוב כאילו חלק שהגיע לזה היה ברור לו, מובדל בחבית מערב יום טוב, וכאילו לא היה מעורב. Since the restriction of the tehumin is midrabanan, the choice of the shares is held to be effective retroactively, and each share is regarded as if it was already chosen and separate inside the jug from before Yom Tov, without the shares of each person being mixed together. However, the same cannot be applied to an animal. שחלק זה שהגיעו, אפילו נחשוב שהוא היה מובדל בבהמה בערב, וכאילו היה ברור, הרי ינק מחלקו של החברו שהייתה הבהמה קיימת, שכל איבריה יונקים זה מזה, ונמצא כל איבר ואיבר מעורב מחלקו בחלק חברו. לפיכך הן כרגלי שניהם. So you cannot apply the same rule to an animal. However, even if we do regard each share of the owners as already marked off the animal and divided up prior to Yom Tov, it continues to draw sustenance from the other owner's share while the animal is alive, because all parts of a living animal draw sustenance from each other, so that each owner and each part of the animal contains within it the other person's share. Therefore, the meat can only be taken to the limits that each person is permitted to go there on Yom Tov.